Trading futures and options on futures involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a high combination of leverage and volatility. And although this could be an equation for opportunity, it's also an equation for risk. So be careful. Only fund your futures trading account with risk capital. My personal definition of risk capital is money I could afford to lose, doesn't change my lifestyle, or overly stress me out. As human beings, we make bad decisions when we're under stress, so be in a good spot. Remember, micro contracts could be friends. Take it easy on the day trade margins. You get plenty of leverage without maxing out on those day trade margins on a regular basis. We'll be taking a look at a real-time simulated live NinjaTrader trading platform today, and none of this should be construed as trade or investment advice. Past performance not indicative of future results. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to NinjaTrader Platforms Unleashed. My name is Jim Cagnina with NinjaTrader. It is Monday, July 17, 2023. And joining us behind the scenes, as usual, is the fabulous Ed Jerkin. Ed is going to be manning the question box, question and answers in the chat. Feel free to join and ask questions. Any kind of questions goes for this show, so go ahead and type them in. The chat, if you don't have to log into your account anymore, you could just go to ninjatrader.com/events, and that will take you to a place where you could just pop that chat out and boom, get involved if you want. In any event, I appreciate everybody being here today. So this is another segment in our series, Platforms Unleashed. We've already covered, just to catch everybody up, how to create a workspace from scratch. We've already talked about how to build and use a market analyzer. We already talked about how to build a chart and chart books and link it all up. We already talked about the NinjaTrader Superdome. That was last week, and that's recorded. You can go back and listen to any of these, and we try to get into detail on each component of the NinjaTrader software. And today we're gonna talk about the unsung hero of the platform. And that's the control panel. Everyone's like, what? The control panel? That's this guy right here, this rectangle up here at the top. And so it does an awful lot of stuff. And we're gonna go into some of the details here. Now, it does so much stuff, we're not gonna have time to cover everything today, but I'm gonna try to focus on the things that I find compelling and interesting, and I kind of walk you through it. So right now, you'll notice there's this, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna extend this down a little bit just to make it so it's not so, well, let's keep going down. All right, so it's covering up the top, I don't know, half my screen. So we have tabs at the bottom, a series of tabs at the bottom. And if you can't see this, let me know. I could try to make it demonstrate it in a different way. But we have a series of tabs at the bottom. We have an accounts tab, right? We have the next one's positions, right? And as the word suggested, you click on it, it'll show you your open positions. The next one is executions. It'll show you executions, orders. The next one is orders. And then strategies is the next one. Now, just like anything NinjaTrader, you right click somewhere and you get options, right? You can add different things. You can get properties and all of that stuff. There's a little plus sign there where you could add more tabs down here on the lower right. So keep that in mind as we go through today. You right click and stuff happens, right? These windows pop up, these sub menus pop up and give you the ability to change certain things. So let's start with the accounts tab really quickly here. And I have a series of columns set up, but these are columns that I customized, right? This isn't out of the box columns. Most of it's out of the box columns, but not all of it. And for this demonstration, I'm going to keep my glasses off. They're a little bit foggy. So we're going to stay focused here, keep the glasses off. So my first column is connections. How am I connecting? And just like any software, you can kind of grab things and move it around, right? So I'm connected to the Continuum data feed, and that's what that column shows me. And if I had multiple data feeds, you could toggle around like that. This lower green dot here in the bottom here is telling me I'm connected. If it were red, guess what? I'm not connected, but I'm connected to the data feed. Everything is good. I have a display name here that talks about my accounts. There's 3 accounts here, right? There's 3 accounts on the screen. One of them is called NinjaTrader Mirrors. One of them is called Sim Account 1. The other one's called SimCag Simi. And there are 3 different accounts. And the top 2 are obviously simulated live accounts. This is a simulated live environment we're in right now. Continuing to go right, we have our cash value of the different accounts. We have intraday margin, which I'm going to go into detail in a second. We have excess intraday margin is the next column. And then initial margin, which is completely different. It's a margin number, but the meaning is different. And I'll tell you why. Also, as we go forward, excess initial margin, net liquidating value, some people refer to as net lick. That shows us there in that column. Realized P&L, right? These are trades that I closed out today that will put either a positive or a negative gross realized profit or loss there. Unrealized P&L is my gross either a positive or negative P&L on open positions, and you can see there's a number there. It's moving around, right? I have some positions that are open, and we'll talk about that. Total P&L. What do you mean total P&L? What does that mean? Well, you just add these two up, right? You add your realized, which are your closed positions, to your unrealized, which are your open positions, and that gives you your total P&L. And note, unrealized and total are going to move as the market moves around because it's calculating in real time what your mark-to-market P&L would be. Position shows you how many positions you have. Now, that's just the columns I had up, right? This is the columns I find interesting. I'm going to right-click here, and again, this mini menu pops up. You can click on Properties tab, and it'll give you a list of stuff you could add or not add. Everything at the top here, we're going to keep the same. Filter by account. Well, I'm going to have all my accounts up there, and then you could do some grid lines and stuff like that if you want. But I'm going to, bold or italic. I'm going to leave them alone. But these are all the columns you could add or remove. And as the checkbox suggests, you check something if you want to add it. You uncheck it if you don't want to add it. And then you go through the list, and here are all of your options. Now, some of these may not apply to futures traders, like long option value is an example. Wouldn't really apply to a futures trader, but it's an option there should you be hooked up to an equity account. So all that stuff is there. I kind of like everything that I have here. I'm not going to change anything, but if I were to change something, then I would have, you know what, let's change something. Let's add maintenance margin. And then you see how the apply button kind of pops up here? I would click on that apply button, and then those changes would take place in OK. So apply and OK. I'm not going to put a maintenance margin up. It might confuse presentation a little bit. So I'm going to hit apply and OK. So I'm going to keep it the same. So remember, right click on stuff and things happen. It's pretty, it's glorious. Before I go into discussion though about the margins and stuff, I just wanted to go to the next tab, positions, right? So this is my position tab, and these are long-term swing trades that I've had up here in my account for a long time. This is a realized sim account, so ignore the fact that they're green, right? They could easily be red, which means I would be negative, right? I'd be losing money instead of making money. So just ignore that, but note that they're active, right? Note that you can see them up there. So again, I have customized these columns same way. Right-click, properties, and it gives you the ability to go ahead and and to modify those columns depending on what you want to see. So I have all four positions. I have Japanese yen US dollar currency pair at the top. I have copper futures, the second one. I have the Dow Jones, the third one. And then I have the 10-year notes, the fourth one. These are all different asset classes that you could trade through NinjaTrader at the CME group. They're all great liquid markets, as far as that's my opinion anyway. So it tells me I'm long, right? It means I bought. With my hope is that, of course, the market price goes up and I could sell it at a better price later on to lock in that P&L. But that, if I was short, it would say short. Quantity, that's how many contracts that I have on. I only have a one contract position on all four of these. And then it'll have my average price, which in this case is the actual price since there's only one. If I had two, as an example, at different prices, it'll give me my average price. And then again, we already talked about the P&L, which count it's in as well. So that's all pretty straightforward. Now, I do have four trades on. So let's go back to the account tab. And actually, we could actually put another trade on as well. Now, in that particular account, you could see my cash value. You could see my intraday margin, right? So what this is telling me is to say, hey, Jim, if intraday margin, if you are going to day trade, in other words, you're going to get in and out the same day, this column will tell you how many contracts you could put in. It'll count and track how much intraday margin you're using out of the total amount that is available to you. And well, how do you know what the total amount is? Well, look at the excess intraday margin, and you can see I have $80,460 of additional capacity for day trading. This is just for day trading, right? So these two columns are day trading. This is how much margin I'm applying of my available. And, just looking at it right now, you would say, well, my total available is 85,459, which is true. So the next column over is initial column, initial margin. And initial margin is, hey, how much money do I have to have in my account to hold my position for a long period of time? And in this case, overnight, right? The session's going to close tonight, later on tonight at 5 o'clock East Coast time. And then it's going to open again an hour later. That hour time frame, believe it or not, is overnight, right? So that's when that initial margin, you have to, again, you want to do a swing trade, a long-term position trade. Then the initial margin, it's set by the exchanges, right? The CME group says, hey, you need to have this much initial margin in your account. And we'll do a real trade in my other account for just one E-mini S&P, so you can see some numbers that are additive. And then excess initial margin tells me, hey, you've got 65,000 left of capacity if you wanted to max out on your margin, which I don't. It's usually bad practice, by the way. The next column over, net liquidating value, says, hey, Jim, if you get out of all four of your contracts right here, right now at this price, then if the price is where the market is right this second, then that's what will be in your account from a gross, from a gross value point of view. It's not going to add the commissions and that stuff. It'll do that on your statements. And then realized P&L, well, is zero, because again, these are open positions. And then unrealized are moving around. So that's kind of the easy version of margins. But let me actually put a trade on so we could just kind of see how that changes, right? So I'm going to put my trading ladder over here to the left. And we could pick a market. It could be any market we want. And this is a random trade. So don't follow live. Don't do this because you think I have a trade idea. I don't. I'm just going to go ahead and put a trade on. I'm going to make a short trade, right? I'm going to use my trading ladder here, the depth of market. I'm going to hit the offer, and I'm going to chase it a little bit. All right. So now I'm short one contract, right? And you can see it's red. Everything's red because I'm short, right? Green would be long, and there's one contract. And if you go over to the panel here, you could see on my this is a different account. This is Cag. You can see my intraday margin is $500, right? And depending on which brokerage firm you're using, right? Maybe your intraday margins might be set differently. I don't know, but in this particular case, on my sim account, my intraday margin is $500, and it's saying, hey, Jim, you're using 500 of your total available. And in this case, the account's pretty big. I've been using this account for a long period of time. So I still have a lot of capacity left, but this is the number I'm looking at. So if you had a $4,000 in your account, as an example, a $500 intraday margin would be 25% of your account, right? Which is a big chunk. Keep that in mind. It's a big chunk. So that's why a lot of folks will prefer to trade micro contracts, which are 1/10 the size, right? 1/10 the size. So instead of having that big of a percentage, you have a smaller percentage of intraday margin versus your total account value. So that's what number one takeaway right away. Then I'm going to go all the way over to initial margin. And what this says is, hey, this is to hold this position overnight past the close this afternoon, or maybe let's say it was a Friday, over the weekend, or let's say I want to hold it for a whole week. You have to have a minimum of 12,320 in your account to put this position on and hold it. That's what that column is. So as you're trading and as you're trading different markets, this is a really good tool to kind of know front and center where you're at from a margin point of view, how much capacity you have left, what the percentages of your overall account, all of those kind of things are really front and center here when you're looking at this column initial margin. You're looking at this column intraday margin, right? And everything else is math, right? Excess initial margin. In other words, I could carry some more positions overnight if I wanted to. And then we already talked about these other columns. So that's kind of number one. We'll leave this trade going for a while because there's some other places that I want to show you how to think about your trades and your positions. I'm going to go to positions here as well, and we're going to see E-mini S&P. I'm short, right? I'm not long. I sold one because I expect the price to go down, and I'm going to buy it at a lower price later. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Quantity one, average price. Well, there's my price. There's my open P&L moving around. And sure enough, here's the account. Here's the account name. If you have a whole bunch of these going, again, there's this little drop down menu here. You could double click on it and it'll sort it, right? It could sort it by double clicking up on any of the top of these columns. Pretty easy to do. All right. Any questions? Type them in to add. Let us know what you're thinking. We're gonna keep moving here. We're gonna go to orders. Now, orders is very, very important for a couple of reasons. So, number one, it shows you all of the orders for the session, right? And you can see up here at the top, right? We have a couple canceled. We have one that was filled. This is the order the order we were just talking about, right? And then we have some orders that are working. Those are the other account that I was talking about. You can see the account names way over here. I could customize this by right click and get rid of stuff. I can get rid of strategies column, OCO column if I want, time and force if I want, and all of that stuff. But I'm going to leave it here. Again, right click, properties, just to remind everybody, and you could clean these columns up however you want. Really easy peasy. All right, now that I just put that too far on my screen, let's get rid of it. So this is the orders tab. Now, you could actually cancel a working order from here, right? You could cancel a working order from the screen by simply going over. See this X over here? Only the working orders are actually are live. They're at the CME Group order book. They're working right now. These are orders that I sent this morning, right? I'm hoping to get a fill at these prices. These are limit orders, far away from the exchange. And you can see here the limit prices where these orders are at. So I'm going to cancel one right now. And so we'll go ahead and cancel. I don't know. We'll cancel Dr. Copper. We'll cancel Copper. That's HG September 23. I'm going to go all the way over, click that X button, and I canceled it. Now I could put it on again if I want to, or not want to, or put it on at a different price or whatever. But I come here at the end of the day, every day, because we do a lot of work on this platform all day long, and I just want to make sure I haven't forgotten something, right? I just want to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. So I just want to glance here to make sure there's no dark kind of dark gray columns there, as an example. So that's why this is really, really pretty handy. And again, you can sort by just clicking at the top of the column here. It's pretty easy to do. Okay, let's keep moving this up. Let's move this up. So those are the tabs, right? I would recommend when you first download the platform, and then go ahead and set up your columns the way you want them set up, and it'll give you the information that hopefully you would like to have. All right, let's keep moving here. These are the tabs at the bottom. Let's take a look at these. This word new. What does that mean? I click on new, and it gives me a drop-down menu. Okay, so this is a drop-down menu, and it gives you a whole bunch of options here, right? Whole bunch of options. You remember last week we talked about launching a Superdome, right? Let's do that again. Let's launch a static NinjaTrader Superdome. I'm going to click on that, and it'll open up a new Superdome, and I could customize it and all that stuff so however I want it to, right? My other one is orange column on the left side as an example. So just go back to last week's video, and you'll see all about how to do it in more detail than you probably care about. But in any event, so that launches new things, right? New launches new things. It makes sense. It's called new. Chart. You want to launch a new chart? Click on chart. It'll open up the status series, and you pick on which contract that you want to launch. We've already went over that also. So that's another thing you could do. Some market analyzer. You want to have a second instance of the market analyzer, which I have over here. It comes up blank, and you can go ahead and customize your market analyzer and have two of them. If you want to have two of them, if you don't want to, maybe you don't want to have everything on one market analyzer that you're interested in. So multi-windows in NinjaTrader common, easy peasy. So again, we'll focus on the new button. And other than opening up the regular ones, there's some other stuff here as well. There's an old-fashioned order ticket if you wanted to launch. If you're my age or older, you're probably not older, but if you're my age, this is how it used to be, right? You didn't have a depth of market. You had an order ticket where you'd fill out, your instrument, and probably your cash account has one of these things too for your stock account as an example. But and you just fill this out. Make sure you include which account you want to put the trade in, and hit the buy or sell button, whatever you want to do. Be a limit order, whatever. So that's an old-fashioned order ticket. It looks pretty cool, actually, right? It does look pretty cool. And I just have instrument, E-mini, S&P. I could have a second instance of an order ticket with a NASDAQ on one of them, an E-mini, S&P on the other one of them, as an example. So that my guess is there's easier ways to place trades for sure. Just clicking on a trading ladder is one of the easiest ways to place a trade, because all right, so we're short one right now. Let's say I want to try to, I want to get out of this trade. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the market price and submit an order right there, just a single click on the dome. So it's a little bit easier for me to do it. I could have done a market order if I want, or I could just close the position altogether and hit the close button, which would go ahead and flatten everything and cancel all my working orders. We'll do that. And so it's gone. So that's way easier in my mind than to use the order ticket, but some people like it. The other way is to use the chart itself. And again, we've covered that already, but we will go into more detail next week about advanced order management techniques next Monday. So stay tuned. All right. So what else do we have cooking here? We had that order ticket. Dome, we've already launched. There's an alert log. Every once in a while, I'll check the alert log. I got a couple of alerts here that I've added. The alert logs are like, hey, Jim, you have a pattern here. Actually, I had 12. I had bearish engulfing that just popped up on a 10-minute chart in the E-mini S&P where we were just short. So we chose wisely there on that trade idea. Crude oil, we had one 940 earlier this morning with another pattern here. This is just a chart, a panel recognition study that's really easy to add to the charts. I'm going to right click and close that. At the end, I'll show you how to do that. That's really simple. A little bit off target, but really simple. So that's that alerts button. This is really for Forex traders. They do have this FX correlation, which I like to make my own correlation charts, but this will show you, if I have my data set up correctly, we'll be patient here for a second. This will show me the relationships between a handful of the major currency pairs: Aussie dollar, British pound, Canadian dollar, euro, Japanese yen. And remember, the denominator is all US dollars. These aren't, exotic currency pairs. These are the denominators of US dollar. And then the same thing on the left side, and just shows the correlations between the markets, right? So if you wanted to see what the Aussie correlation was with the British pound, you say, oh, it's 81%. It's positive, it's strong, right? If you wanted to see, I don't know, the Japanese yen versus the Canadian dollar, you would see it's negatively correlated at about 40%, 39%. So I prefer to make my own correlation charts, but this is kind of a handy thing you could just pop up and check out anytime you want. And I do routinely do it, by the way. So that's that. Market Analyzer, we already talked about. Market Watch. Before we get to the Market Watch, let's go over to the tools. There is a Market Watch here. We're gonna open this up. But before we do that, let's just go to tools. You'll see instruments and instrument lists. Let's go to instrument lists. I'm going to click on instrument lists. On the left-hand side is a bunch of lists, right? And we could make more lists if we want. We could delete old lists if we want. The very first list has cryptocurrencies. And you'll see I have both the CME and Coinbase Bitcoin instrument in that list. I have the Ether symbol in that list. And I'll show you how to use this later, but this is something that's handy for me. So, and you have some other stuff like the Dow 30 will show you which underlying stocks are in there. Some, again, depending on who your broker is, maybe you're trading equities as well on this. I don't know. Mostly futures traders, but it's there as a convenience. Energies. All right, I have my crude oil contract up. I have my heating oil contract up, also known as ultra low sulfur diesel. I have natural gas. I have RBOB gasoline, right? This is gasoline futures. So these are the four main energies that I like to track anyway. Interest rates, again, would have my yield curve with my 10-year, my ultra bond, my 3-year, my 30-year, my 2-year notes all in the list. And then here's like, S&P, here's all the S&P contract. These are the underlying cash. components there. But let's go ahead and make a new one. Let's make a new one, and let's call it, let's add one. And let's call it, just click the add button. We'll call it micro equities. Let's call it micro equities. Again, I'm just making it up. We'll throw it in here now. So on the micro equities, I have it selected, right? And I'm going to add some micro, right? Some micros. So we'll start with MES because I know the symbol. I have it memorized. We'll click on there, and then it'll pop it up. Let's go ahead and add another one. Let's micro NASDAQ. And if you don't know the symbol, that's okay, because you could either type in the word micro, or you could type in the word NASDAQ, and then you could look for it, right? Here's a list of all of the results that come up that are associated with that keyword NASDAQ. And right there, here's my micro E-mini NASDAQ right at the top. That's what I want. So I'm going to click on it. It's going to add it, right? And I can continue on and on and on. I won't waste too much time doing it, but let's do the same thing with the Dow. I know that's spelled D-O-W. My mom would be proud. And so I'm going to look for the Dow futures, and there it is, MYM. And also I know all the micro symbols start with an M for the futures market. So I'll double click there. And there we have three. I could add the Russell as well if I wanted to, but I think you guys get the point. Hit apply and okay. So we're good there. Now I'm going to hit okay. So why is this useful? So let's say you just have a basic chart up. Let's go ahead and open a chart. And it's going to ask you for a symbol. You could hit that drop-down menu, and you've created all these shortcuts, right? Micro equities. Well, I want to do a micro E-mini S&P chart, right? So you created a shortcut in your actual folders here. Otherwise, you'd have to search for it, which isn't a big deal, but this is just easier for me because it's a shortcut. So shortcuts are good. And then, boom, it gives me all of the stats here that I could change and customize to whatever I want the chart to look like. I hit OK, and it'll pop up a new chart. Really, really easy peasy. Does that make sense? All right. So that's handy to do that. I know the first time you do it, it takes a little work. And by the way, once you customize not only your control panel, but once you customize the market analyzer and your charts and your trade and your depth of market, your dome, your super dome, don't forget, in order to save these, your setup, you're just going to close this control panel. Upper X, see that red X? You're going to hit that close button. And then next time you log in, it will automatically close all the other windows you have. Next time you log in, it'll memorize everything, where it's positioned on your screens, how you have it, how the colors are, the indicators on your chart, so you don't ever have to do it again. So make sure, if I just click the chart, and close out the chart, and then I close out the control panel to log out of the software. Next time I open up the software, guess what? That chart's not there anymore, right? So that's very important. I mean, I found that out the hard way. I found that out the hard way by accidentally, getting rid of something I didn't want to get rid of. All right, let's keep moving here. So let's go to. I said we we're going to talk about that market watch thing. I'm going to open up the market watch section, and then again I could add instruments to the market. Let's go ahead and add the MES as an example, and it's going to give me this is what we're going to. It's going to give me like I don't know, what do you call this? This is like a chart of the session. It's color coded. It shows me how much time in the day we were negative, how much we're positive, where we're at relationship to where we started from, and I could add all of these different instruments on this look. I find it helpful, and I'll show you what mine ultimately looks like at the end of the day. But again, I'm just clicking, adding to fill this out. At the end of the day, I'm going to have something that looks like this, and I have it on. I'm going to close this one. I'm going to have this on another monitor. So as I'm doing my daily stuff, I'm listening to Bloomberg, I'm reading Reuters, I'm looking at other news feeds, I'm watching the market, the quote board, the market analyzer. This is also on a screen, so I could kind of see an instant view of all the relationships of all these different asset classes as they occurred over time. And I have mine organized with stock index futures at the top, and then we have the energy markets next, and then we have the treasury complex next. These are the interest rate markets we talked about, treasury bonds and treasury notes. And then I have the metals. I got gold, silver, I have copper, Then I have the currency pairs, the Aussie dollar, British pound, Canadian dollar, Euro FX, Japanese yen, New Zealand dollar, all the way through. And then I have some commodities. I have corn, we have wheat, soybeans, soy meal, soy oil. These are the ones I track at the bottom. And so again, I could see all the relationships. This morning I knew there was some saber rattling about wheat contracts in Europe. And so I wanted to see how the market reacted to that. And that's how the market reacted to it. I could see a snapshot, a thumbnail of it. So I love that market watch. I have it. I'm going to put it over to the side though, so we can keep moving forward. We also get asked often, do we have a time in sales? Yes, there's a time in sales. There it is, TS. I'm going to click on time in sales, and it shows you a time in sales window. Some folks love the time in sales window. Some people are like, what am I looking at? So it just really what this shows you is all the trades that are coming through in this particular marketplace. This is the E-mini S&P again. And it shows you the time, that's the time part of it. And then the sales, that's the price part of it, of every transaction. And it shows you how big the contracts were, right? So now we have a lot of ones. There's a 6 that just went by. There's a 4, and you could kind of watch it. It's color coded. So we look at, hey, which are these trades happening on the bid, or are these trades happening on the offer, right? So that's another piece of information that's kind of important. Trades have a bunch of trades happening on the offer. Let's take a pick. I'll just go over to the dome so I could explain this a little bit better. The offer being the side, trades, a bunch of trades are happening here. It's an example. Let's go to a market that's not moving so I could show this a little bit better. Let's just go over to crude oil. So I'm just going to go ahead and click. I have everything linked. I'm going to click my market analyzer. Well, I can link this one too, I think. Let's go to crude, pop that in, and everything changes to crude. So you'll see here, let's go up to, I don't know, 74.35. There's 15 contracts there. If we started trading on that offer on the sell column, and when those contracts are exhausted, they're gone, buyers are going to look for the next price, which is 36. And then when that's exhausted, they're going to look for the next price, which is 12. So as these trades happen in this column on the offer, it's color-coded red, or in my case, orange. And then if it happens on the bid, it's color-coded in green, right? And again, a lot of orders, when these inventories get exhausted, price will creep down. And so that's how people would use time in sales. Other folks would say, hey, I only want to see when there's 20 lots coming through here, when there's 30 lots coming through here, that's all I care about. Because then I know there's some big players involved, and I'm going to look at a candle, think about direction, and that's going to give me a tip or a clue on what to do next. I'm not saying that's a good strategy or bad strategy or anything, but I do know a lot of folks use it this particular way. So yeah, there is time in sales. I get this question a lot. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And my crude oil chart's all crazy looking. Crude oil chart's all crazy looking. All right, so let's go to the next topic, which I think is kind of important. Well, let's see which one. There's a couple of them that I think are important. Let me see if I could find them here. Hotkeys. It's just exactly what you think, right? It's categories on the left, and then on the right-hand side are the hotkeys. In other words, you hit, F8 as an example, and you're going to be able to draw a Fibonacci retracement line, right? And you could customize and change these if you want. Just make sure you don't conflict yourself out. Or maybe you just was like, hey, what's the cheat sheet for these things, for these shortcut keys that are pre-configured in the software? And here they are. And you can scroll down. You could change categories. Market Analyzer has its own category. NinjaScript Editor, Order Entry, and then Superdome has its own as well. So a chart has most of them because we spend most of our time, guess what, on the chart. So it's a cheat sheet, and if you really want to customize stuff, you certainly can do that. All right, let's keep moving here. We have a big category to go right here, right now. We have a big category to go. It's called trade performance. I love this one. It's in the new tab. I'm going to click on trade performance. It's going to open up this window, and this window gives it gives you all sorts of information, right, about your trade performance. Remember, I'm in a real-time simulated live NinjaTrader trading platform today. None of this shit could be treated as trade or investment advice, of course, but it gives me some good categories, right? It gives me my total net profit. It gives me my gross profit, my gross loss, everything all the way down. It gives you everything, including, Sharpe ratios, Sorrentino ratios, also ulcer index. I don't even know what that is. That sounds bad. And you could change your start date and your end date, right? So if I just wanted to go Wednesday to Friday, hit generate, it will change the data in the box. As an example, filter. I just have one account up here right now. I just have that account up here right now. You could go ahead and filter that as well. I'm just checking futures because all I'm doing is futures, right? So that's all I have there. I'm going to close that future. And then a drop-down menu gives you more options. But before we get to that, let's just go all the way down. It has stuff like number of winning trades, number of losing trades, number of even trades, average trade, average winning trade, average losing trade. So all the stuff that maybe a commodity trading advisor would track or would promote or would have to track would be in here as well. And this gives you a handy kind of look back, especially if you decide, you know what, this week I'm going to try a certain strategy and I want to see how it goes, right? And so you can get all this great information in here. And then you can target, right? You can do analysis. This analysis gives you a chart back there. I haven't found that too helpful for me, but executions will give you your executions, which we already saw, trades, which we already saw, orders, and all of that stuff. And the journal feature is really good, by the way. And I've shown this before in the opening range shows before. The journal is you could type in notes, right? I could say, happy Monday, folks, or whatever. I could say, went short, took advantage, and I can't spell very good, folks. You got to bear with me, of resistance at 4,500 on the S&P going short for 5 ticks, right? And I could add it. And then later on in the day, I can look back at my notes, right? And say, oh, okay, so yeah, so I recognize that 4,500 psychological level, so I went short off of that. Does the market keep bouncing off of that? So that's why I did that. And then if you have a bad trade idea, why did I, maybe you put a trade in right before an economic release came out, you forgot the economic release came out, you got whipsawed, you got stopped out. I could say, hey, Jim, don't put a trade on a minute before an economic release. So I could track these notes and it will help reaffirm in my head my own personal observations about my trading behavior. So that's a really cool thing here in this journal. And you could also write it down on a piece of paper and pencil, but if you don't want to do that, or you don't have a piece of paper and pencil, then you could do it this way. So that's how you use that, which is pretty super cool. Oh, all right, we covered a lot of ground. Wow, it's we're moving fast here. We're getting toward the end, but let's keep going anyway. Workspaces up at the top. Workspaces are workspaces, and then the very first episode we created a workspace. If you wanted to change workspaces, you could do it really easily by going to this menu item. So we have top 5 indicators. That's exactly what workspace I'm looking at right here, right now. If I wanted to go to my correlations workspace, I'd click on the correlations workspace. It would toggle to that one, right? And get rid of that warning box. And it'll give me my correlations. And this was energies, right? I was tracking my energy complexes, crude oil, gasoline, heating oil, nat gas. And then I was doing correlations between crude oil and everything, including a line on close chart on the top that shows both of the trends in both of the markets. And then the correlation below between the two markets. I did the same crude and heating oil, and I did the same crude and nat gas. So that was I decided to keep that separate on purpose, because I'm going to use this chart more to analyze and get prepared for the day than I am to actually trade off of it. And if I want to go back, just click on that workspaces, click on correlations, and I'm sorry, I clicked on the same one. Click on top 5 indicators, and we're back to where we started. Super easy. This help menu is really important. help menu, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of different things here. These resource guides and help guides go to a web page, and so it goes directly there. Video guides goes to a web page, goes exactly there. Email support, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll send an email, I'll get an answer back in 7 years. No, send it here from if you send an email to support from your workstation, then that gives you a huge advantage because now they know it's coming from you. They know how your account is set up. You click this log and trace files are automatically sent, right? You want to send yourself a copy as well. If you want to send other files, you could send other files. You could send a screenshot if you want. And you could type in here, or you could put an attachment here with the screenshot if you want. Sorry, this is where you put that. You could type in here and say, help, how do I, do something? Or what did I do wrong? Or you guys experiencing this phenomenon, whatever it is. And then once you type in something here, then you'll be able to send it once you fill out all the stuff, right? So that actually gets a quick response. So I would keep that front and center as you go. You could download a new instance of the software as an example. And then this live events, I think, is not quite ready for prime time yet. So we're going to keep moving. Third-party licensing, if you're involved with third-party licensing, is there. And then this is kind of important because your support might say, hey, what version are you on, right? Well, you hit that about, and it'll tell you this version, copy and paste it, send it to support or whoever you want. And that's the version number. And here's your machine ID. You got entitlements. I got the order flow plus volume of the software. I have a multi-broker setup, and I have this static Superdome. So these is how my personal account's set up that we're using here today. And we got patent numbers. I just FYI, hit okay, hit okay. So that covers the help. Connections is self-explanatory. Connections, right now I'm connected to NinjaTrader Continuum. If I wanted to disconnect, I would disconnect. If I wanted to connect, I'd just double click on it, and then I'd be able to connect really that easily. It's your first time here. You've already gone through the configuration tab where you can configure stuff. Different data feeds as an example. You can configure that in the configuration section. And this window behaves just like every other window in NinjaTrader, where you get available, you select available, you add it to the bottom, and then you click add, it's on the bottom here, then you highlight it and it'll give you your particulars. So that's how that works. It's pretty straightforward and easy. So that's pretty much a summary of it. There's some other stuff here that, there's maybe a deep dive into strategies wise. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about order cancels, other, and some of the heavy duty, multi-target brackets. We're going to talk about, automating the process, trailing stops, and all of that stuff. So we'll get into that next time. But again, I would just experiment the best that you can and spend some time, especially when you get started, first get started, setting up. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I appreciate everybody being here for sure. I do want to mention we have a couple of extra events this week, as usual, right? In addition to the opening range, which is again at 9:15 East Coast time every morning, and bars closing, which is 3:15 at the end of the day, East Coast time. Tomorrow, Tom Schneider has a great show. It's called Traders Workshop. And it does focus on folks that are in the NinjaTrader ecosystem that have added, third-party plugins as an example, or other analysis techniques that work in conjunction with the NinjaTrader software. Tom is having on tomorrow. Steve Rhodes is going to be with him, and they're going to be focusing on precious metals. So that's a Traders Workshop tomorrow at 12 noon. Wednesday, we have Bobby Iacchino is going to be on See the Futures, and we're going to talk about not only the macroeconomic environment, but we're also going to talk about, we're going to drill down into, do some analysis on the Fed, on interest rates, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's at 10:30 tomorrow morning, East Coast time, See the Futures. And then Thursday, Tom's going to be back. He's not done yet. Tom still has more work to do on Thursday. He's going to be back with Anthony Crudele, Anthony Credelli live at Develop Your Edge. And that, again, is going to be Thursday. So a lot of stuff going on this week. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you there live, ask questions. Appreciate you shooting your questions out to Ed. Ed, thank you for being here with me. Greatly appreciated. As always, Ed Jerkin behind the scenes at NinjaTrader. Having said all that, folks, most important message of the day, please. And remember, be safe out there. Be good to each other. Thanks for coming.